Hello, I'm Tony Brooks, and this is Agri, Arkansas. We've told you about the diversity that exists in Arkansas agriculture, from row crop farming to livestock production to timber and more. What's behind that diversity? Could it be adaptation? People taking the land they're on and using it as best they can. Geographically, Arkansas is one of the more diverse states you'll find in the U.S. It is divided into 6 physiographic regions. We wanted to take a look at each individual region and see how people have adapted their agriculture to fit the geographic characteristics of their land. Let's start with the Mississippi River alluvial plain, or what is generally known as the Delta.
Arkansas has 6 different physical regions, and what they call the Delta, and it's really not a delta, is about 1/3 of the state. It is arguably the best agricultural land, the best soils in the entire state. It certainly has some problems, some restrictions with it, but all in all, it's not many better places in North America to put a seed in the ground and grow crops. The eastern third of Arkansas, really until just a few million years ago, was under the Gulf of Mexico. The continent was sitting a little lower, the oceans were a little bit higher, so it was a shallow, swampy ocean. Only a couple million years ago did North America, the continent, uplift a little bit and it became dry, but it's also where most of the major rivers of all of North America drain right down the center of our continent. Mississippi, the Ohio, the Arkansas, and they drain right through this region. So for millions of years you had big rivers full of mud and debris and organic material going across a pretty flat landscape. So they weren't picking up more material, they were meandering back and forth. They were dumping mud and silt. So we have in some places this rich organic mud hundreds of feet thick in the Delta region. It makes for an excellent agricultural soil.
Can you smell the dirt?
So today when a farmer gets a good crop out of the field, they should send a thank you letter to that farmer in Minnesota or upper Wisconsin or southern Canada that doesn't have any soil because it's sitting down here in Arkansas now.
The type of land that we farm here in Mississippi County, which is in the very northeast corner of Arkansas, is very flat land. Back in the early days, it was all timber. Timber companies came in here and cleared the big cypress off the land, but it was swamp land back then. We have a series of drainage ditches that were formed in the early 1900s that have drained the land so that we could make it productive and into agricultural land. And if we didn't have this series of drainage systems and drainage districts, we would go back to swamp land. So we pay a drainage tax along with our property tax to help maintain this drainage.
Well, I always tell people I manage water as much or more than I manage land, you know, particularly in a rice culture. And in this kind of soil type, we're constantly either trying to get water on a field or off a field. And we've converted several farms to primarily surface irrigation because declining aquifer and declining quantity and quality of underground water where we can. And so we actually manage one farm that has 2 reservoirs on it, an 80-acre one and about a 35-acre one, another farm that has a 40-acre one, and the farm we're at right now has a small, about 10-acre surface water impoundment on it.
Of course, weather always is a big challenge for farmers. I mean, I know the general public thinks it's always too wet or too dry, but we can literally about 10 days away from a drought anytime during the growing season. So we're at the mercy of the good Lord and what we get from the weather. But when it's dry, most everybody's irrigated now, so we can control dry weather pretty much. But what you can't control is flood rain.
I guess many of the challenges, of course, are rising production costs and low commodity prices is our biggest challenge, and how do we juggle that to make ends meet and survive? Of course, being in a Delta area, labor is a big issue.
I think labor is probably the most limiting factor in farming operations today. If you poll 100 farmers, I think they'd probably tell you the same thing. Over the last several years, there's been a shift from the population leaving the Delta, so obviously we have less labor to pull from. And in the Mississippi County, we have one big steel mill, Nucor Steel, and another big mill coming in at Osceola, Big River Steel. A lot of our highly qualified labor, we're concerned that we might lose some of those to the industry. And so we've had to do a lot of changing and try to offer more incentive to stay on the farm, paying insurance and retirement program and things like that to try to hold the key labor that we've got.
Looking at different things as far as different pay scales and looking at trying to attract labor maybe out of technical schools, out of colleges to come in and do some summer internships and that type of thing to get people interested and see what's available here on the farm, but it's a real challenge.
What we produce in the Delta is based very much upon the world's economy. It used to be cotton. Every time I go through the Delta, I'm amazed at how little cotton I see grown anymore. Cotton's moved out to Arizona and many of the desert regions. Rice certainly is big. Soybeans often is the off-season crop for rice.
Actually, I farm here in just north of Weiner in western Poinsett County, which is an old rice producing area, one of the oldest rice producing areas in the state. Majority of the acreage here is rice and soybeans. A big piece of it's on a 50-50 rotation, so every other year the field will be in rice and every other year being soybean. That's just kind of how we've evolved over the years. There's a little corn, a little wheat, a little grain sorghum, and a little cotton in the area, but rice and soybeans are the major crops in this area.
Well, for many years ago, we raised a lot of different things, but then economics led us into cotton. This type of land that we're on, sandy loam land, responds very well to water and cotton production. So for many years, I'd say 20 years, we were 100% cotton on this farm. But economics has changed on us. Cotton prices have fallen and production costs have risen to where it's not been productive the last couple of years, so our cotton acreage has declined. And so we still raise a little bit of cotton and corn, milo, soybeans. This year, for the first time, we even have peanut production on this farm. So we're very diversified.
Will the Delta feed the world, the entire world? No, we need a lot of deltas to feed the world. But acre for acre, it is about the best land we've got in Arkansas. It's very productive. It is almost a third of the state, from the Missouri border all the way down to Louisiana. It's rich, flat, easy to plow, good water sources. It was destined from the get-go to be an agricultural region. Row crops are grown here in huge amounts, several thousand-acre farms. Each year, more crops are raised, and overall, the prices are going up. Aquaculture is also coming into the region. Arkansas is now third in catfish production and the largest bait fish farm in the world, and some experimental research in new species of fish is going on. But there are challenges and problems we will need to deal with in the future. Competition from other agricultural regions. Right now in Southeast Asia, they're bringing in fish that are cutting into our catfish market. They have lower cost for production. We're overdrawing some of our aquifers. We still have quite a bit of water close to the surface, but there are some farming areas at some time of year a little short on water. The uncertainty of global climate change, how will that impact our growing seasons or the rainfall in Arkansas? But overall, this is one of the premier agricultural regions on earth. It has all the right resources in the right amounts, and it will continue to be a major producer of foods for generations to come.
We'll talk more about the diversity of Arkansas agriculture in a few minutes with Wes Ward, the new Secretary of Agriculture for Arkansas. As you just heard, there was a time when cotton was king in the Delta, and while that is no longer the case, there is still a place where cotton reigns supreme, the Plantation Agriculture Museum in Scott, Arkansas.
Plantation Agriculture Museum is one of Arkansas's 52 state parks. We're located just a short distance outside Little Rock. Plantation Agriculture Museum has three primary buildings open to the public. We have our 1912 general store / 1927 post office gallery, and we also have a recently constructed cotton gin exhibit building plus a 1948 cottonseed warehouse structure.
The museum is depicting cotton agriculture during from 1836 to just after World War II, when mechanization took over. The tractors tractored people off the lands. The building we're standing in right now was a general store built in 1912. This depicts everything that you need to know about a plantation or a farm. It'll take you through 1 year of cotton agriculture down to the 500-pound bale. Talk about mule barns, the kitchen setup of the old wood burning stove. And then we have a variety of exhibits that we change out annually just to show people what life was like back in those days.
The general store and post office gallery are our main exhibit areas. A 1912 general store was built here by Mr. Conaway Scott. It was said, or we like to say, that the same year the Titanic was going down, we were going up. Once they leave this general store / post office gallery and they want to journey outside, they're going to come to our reconstruction of a cotton gin building. The building was finished in 2005, but don't let that deceive you. The actual artifacts that are inside it date back to around the period of World War I. It was a working gin that stood here until 1993, when it was donated to us. We dismantled the building and moved it here and saved all the parts, and it's now open to the public for your inspection.
The cotton gin building is housing our 1919 cotton gin stands. There's 2 80-saw gin stands made by Continental Gin Company, and then it has the Munger vacuum system in it. This is a rare piece in Arkansas history especially. Cotton gin business was one of the first mechanized businesses, and most plantation owners that owned 5,000 acres or more had a gin stands like this one on their property.
The last building that you would see when you come here is our 1948 cottonseed warehouse. It was built in 3 years after the end of World War II by Mr. Robert L. Dorch, who was a very prominent seed planter, plantation owner. He needed it for his cottonseed business. By that time, by the late 40s, his business had grown so large that his first seed warehouse could not absorb all the seed that was taken in the fall of the year. So he had this one constructed, and just recently we had the building not only restored, but we had it now, exhibits inside there, and we now have it open to the public.
The 1948 seed warehouse is unique in its triangular shape, and that triangular shape is to answer the angle of repose of a cotton seed pile or any kind of seed pile that you build. When they auger in the seeds into the building, they would drop it from a ceiling height and have it form a cone inside, upside down cone. And they teasingly say one more seed and it would collapse and flatten out. But this angle of repose is how the building is built to retain as much height as they could on these seed piles.
It's often been said, or you may have heard, that king cotton was the big crop throughout the South, and today it may not seem that way, but it really was true. Every other industries relied on the cotton crop. It truly was king. It's our hope that when visitors leave the Plantation Agriculture Museum that they will come away with an awareness of just the hard work that was involved in producing a crop of cotton in 1 year. It's been said, and I believe it, that cotton is the most labor-intensive crop in the world to grow, and it certainly was before World War II. And hopefully after they leave here, they'll begin to understand that it wasn't just a crop that you just spent the summer months growing. It was something that literally took your investment for all 12 months.
You can find out more and plan visits at the Plantation Agriculture Museum by visiting ArkansasStateParks.com. The Arkansas Agriculture Department and the Arkansas Department of Veterans Affairs have come together for a farmer veteran initiative called Homegrown by Heroes. Let's take a look.
Every year, 200,000 veterans leave the U.S. military. This is a very highly skilled group that's leaving the military, and they're looking for an occupation or an area they can go in and apply those skills and continue to learn.
All right, y'all go check your waters and feeders. Come on, Violet, let's go check the chickens.
And when you look at agriculture, agriculture is just natural for that.
My name is Damon Helton. I was a specialist in the United States Army. I had 5 tours between Iraq and Afghanistan before I got out. I enlisted in the military in February 2001 and got out in February 2005, and then did my inactive reserve time. Honorably discharged in 2009. So you can hear me talking. Go ahead and drive over there.
Just recently, the media reported that over the next 5 years, agriculture, just on the college-educated level side, will have 67,000 positions to fill. In addition, there's another 2 to 3 million positions out there right now that agricultural can't fill for positions that require technical knowledge, basic skills, even advanced knowledge.
Where the horses at, guys?
So here in Arkansas, we have nearly 250,000 veterans that call Arkansas home. If you look at the total economic impact of veterans to Arkansas, you take into consideration the VA's input into Arkansas, retiree pay, second career income like going into agriculture, spouse income. It's about $4.5 to $5 billion annually. So if you look at veterans as an industry, we'd be the 4th largest industry in the state.
The Arkansas Agriculture Department, along with the Arkansas Department of Veteran Affairs, got together to put together a farmer veteran initiative we call Homegrown by Heroes. Now, the Homegrown by Heroes program is just not limited to Arkansas. It's actually a nationwide program that the National Farmer Veteran Coalition oversees. But Arkansas is the 6th state to adopt the program. It's an initiative designed to give our military veterans the ability to label their product as produced by a veteran.
The Homegrown by Heroes initiative, I think, is a tremendous asset. First of all, the Farmer Veteran Coalition and the mentorship and the camaraderie that it brings back to someone who's prior service really helps. And the Homegrown by Heroes label is a badge of honor for us. It's a medal that we've earned, and we get to showcase it. The marketing support that they give us behind that is a shot in the arm. You know, it really gets us out there, and whenever I go to a farmer's market or anything, it's very easy for me to put this logo out there, and people ask about it. And anytime there's anything like that from a farmer standpoint or any business person's standpoint, to have that kind of marketing support and have that kind of brand, that label behind you, it really helps.
What a wonderful program aimed at some very deserving people. Joining us now is Wes Ward, Arkansas's new Secretary of Agriculture. It's good to have you with us. We grew up in essentially the same region. You're a native of Lake City.
That's right.
And I grew up right across the border in the Boot Heel, Missouri, on a cotton farm. So as far as cotton farming practices, it was very much the same.
That's right.
So it's great to have you with us. Let's begin with a little bit about your extensive background in education and in agriculture.
Sure. Well, again, that common background, I don't think there's very many people in Northeast Arkansas that don't know who you are, so I appreciate you letting me come and have a chance to sit down and talk with you for a little bit.
It's good to have you here.
But so grew up in Lake City, really cotton country up there in Lake City, a lot of row crop production. Grew up there, joined the Marine Corps right out of high school, was gone for several years on active duty. Came back to Arkansas State, did ag business at Arkansas State with ag finance as an emphasis, and went off to law school. After law school, I went back in the Marine Corps for a few more years and got a couple of deployments in, and came back, did an LLM program in agriculture and food law at the University of Arkansas as well, and got a chance to work for Congressman Rick Crawford with the Eastern District of Arkansas doing agriculture outreach for him. So it was, like you said,
every aspect of it.
That's right.
You've
that's
been
right.
Involved.
Shared background. That's for sure.
Well, now you've been at the helm of Arkansas agriculture for a few months now. What are some things that you hope to accomplish in this role?
Yeah, the Arkansas Ag Department, it's interesting. It's got an interesting background. So the department itself is only about 10 years old. When you compare the Arkansas Agriculture Department to other state departments of agriculture, most of those are about 100 years old or older.
Right.
So we're a young department. We've the former secretaries, Secretary Bell and Secretary Calhoun, did a lot of good work trying to get the department going and getting programs started. So first of all, I want to continue with their legacy and continue the programs that they started and that are up and running, that are doing really good things, and also looking at other states to see what sort of things that we can do here in Arkansas that's comparable to what they're doing to really help promote our agriculture in the state and to make our agriculture even more successful than what it is. So we've got lots of areas that are very exciting, lots of opportunities. So that I think we can come in and do some things.
Very good. Let's talk a little bit about the Homegrown by Heroes project. We just heard just a little bit about that program was recently launched, and you were a part of that launch.
Yes, sir.
Tell us what you think about it and what good that program can do.
I think it's got the potential to do some really good things. Being in the Marine Corps for 15 years now, still being in the reserves, it's something that's personal to me. So
right.
It's something that's really important to me, and it's something that I know is important to our governor and to our director of the Department of Veterans Affairs as well. We had our press conference last Thursday. The governor was there. The director of Veterans Affairs was there. It's something that we're all very excited about and very passionate about, and I think it's just a really good opportunity for agriculture, which is our state's largest industry, and our veteran community. And that's two things Arkansas is very proud of. We're very proud of agriculture. We're very proud of our veterans, and it's something where these two can come together and work together. And it's a way that we can help guys who are either leaving active duty to come back to Arkansas and find a career where they can be successful in, or for guys who are looking for a second career or looking to change careers. Agriculture has got a lot of exciting opportunities now, and it's something that we think we can help invite or entice veterans to pursue careers in agriculture.
Are you already getting response? A lot of people responding already?
We are. We had 5 different farmer veteran families that were at the press conference last week. We've had several more who have made inquiries on how they can be involved with the program. So I think it's going to be a really good success. Arkansas total population is about 3 million people, and our veteran population is about 250,000. So we've got large numbers. I know there are a lot of veterans that are already involved in agriculture, so it's not just inviting people to agriculture, but it's also highlighting the people that are already in it and are already doing really good things and saying, look, these guys are making a difference in agriculture, making a difference in their communities, and just helping to tell their story and hopefully help make their businesses more successful than what they are.
Great program. We wish you the best of luck with that. We talked earlier about adaptation, and as markets and prices change, farmers have to look for more productive and profitable crops. We have seen a decrease in the amount of acreage of cotton in northeast Arkansas and across the border in southeast Missouri, and farmers are going to alternative crops like peanuts. Are you seeing that up there? Is that something we're going to see more of?
I think so. I think, speaking of cotton, this is supposed to be the lowest year on record as far as actual planted acres for cotton. So that can be scary when you look at those changes and you think, what's happening to agriculture? But at the same time, a lot of these guys are diversifying. They're looking for other niche markets that they can go into, not jumping in with full board scale of their whole operation, but finding areas that they can divert a few acres or 100 acres or so and try a different crop and see what they can do with that. So people are looking for ways to diversify. They're looking for ways to add value, to lower operating costs, and farmers are very entrepreneurial.
They are.
They're very creative, and they're successful people. So they're finding ways. They're going to find ways to be successful and to be profitable. So I know that they're going to do good things, and that's part of it of being who they are.
You hold a Master's of Law degree in Agricultural and Food Law. We're seeing more federal regulations. How's that affecting Arkansas farmers?
I think it's across the board. It's affecting a lot of people. We've got our Attorney General just filed the suit on the Waters of the U.S. rule and really the overreach through the EPA on that. And you hear a lot of people who talk about today's farmers and today's producers. It's a lot more than just someone who can put seed in the ground or someone that can take a cow to a market. It's you really have to have the CEO mindset. You have to understand legal implications, you have to understand the business, you have to understand economics, and the regulatory piece is just an added burden a lot of times where there shouldn't be. So the federal overreach sometimes is very disconcerting because it's so broad, and when you take a regulation that may be 1,000 pages long,
right,
and you've got farmers who are trying to work 16, 17, 18 hours a day, they don't have time to sit down and read a 1,000-page regulation on one subject.
Right.
So it's very burdensome, and it's troubling for a lot of people to have to try to navigate those waters on top of everything else that they're already doing.
You know, living in Arkansas, we sometimes overlook the tremendous importance of agriculture to the state's economy. And you mentioned earlier, in fact, as many as 1 in 6 jobs are tied to agriculture in Arkansas. Can we see this become a growing sector? I mean, it's already huge, but can it get better?
I think so, and that's part of the diversity of agriculture in Arkansas. Like we were talking about earlier, you know, Arkansas is in the top 25 states on 23, 24 commodities. So that's diversity, that's opportunities for people to be involved in different aspects of agriculture, regardless of what part of the state you're in. So I think there are a lot of opportunities for it to continue to grow. There are certainly areas for value added, for people to capture some of those dollars instead of sending money out of state for value added processing or different things like that. We can do that here in Arkansas and capture our own dollars, and I think there can be and should be ways that we can capture that here within the state.
Okay, got about a half a minute left. What can we as consumers do to help Arkansas agriculture?
I think a lot of it is just knowing the story of Arkansas agriculture, and that's one of the things that we try to do at the Arkansas Ag Department. It's a lot of promotion and education. We tell the story of Arkansas agriculture, the story of the diversification. It's telling the people that are growing the crops that they're involved in their community. So
get the word out.
It's knowing what we do in Arkansas and help support those producers and buying their products.
Very good. Wes, thank you for joining us.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good to have you here.
Absolutely.
That's all the time we have for now. We'd like to thank you for joining us. We hope you'll join us again next time for Agri Arkansas. I'm Tony Brooks.
Major funding for this program provided by the Moving Image Trust Fund. Additional funding for this program provided by the Arkansas Agriculture Department.